Hi, I'm Pam Hayes from Hayes Sewing Machine Company, Wilmington, Delaware. Welcome back to our creative videos. And today we're going to do a June Taylor Quilt-As-You-Go, and it's going to be the sewing machine cover and the Caddie. Caddie being the piece that is underneath that can hold all of your little accessories that you need. It's great when you're going to a class, so you don't, it's always right there ready for you. And if Loretta can pan down, that's what it's going to look like. So she will have your everything marked out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do want to follow the order if possible. You're going to work with either a walking foot or a 1/4-inch foot that, like Bernina has a 97D foot. I wouldn't recommend a foot that had a guide on it for this. Just your plain 1/4-inch would work better for you. I find sometimes the guide can scooch things along when you don't need it to be. What you're going to do is you're going to choose your background fabric.
Oh, that's cute.
Isn't that cute? I thought that was appropriate. And you want to stitch all the way around the perimeter. She does also recommend that you could do this with really bright thread. So it doesn't really matter, because at this point this is going to be your cutting line. So when we are working with it, I chose all sorts of sewing motifs, thimbles, pins, scissors, that type of thing. But choose whatever you want. And what's nice, in this one, it's going to do the machine cover and the Caddie, and it takes 1/8 of a yard of the 8 fabrics, which is going to be kind of this section here, the different colors that you see there. And then 1/2 a yard of 3 fabrics. The backing is 1 3/4, and then binding is 1/2 yard. But that's enough to do both things. Okay. So what we're going to do, again, I have already stitched around that, and we're going to start with number 1. Now, with number 1, that is the one you actually don't have to do anything to. It is...
Let me just get around here, Pam.
On the upside, or right side up, I should say. All right, so we're going to be right side up. And she'll give you the dimensions of all the sizes that you need to cut. So when you're working with it, I'm going to have the thimbles. And then I thought this print of the buttons was really nice. Okay, so this is where we're going to go. And we're going to line it up right sides together, and we're going to do our 1/4-inch seam. And I should know better. I changed the foot and it's saying, what foot do you have on? All right, and we're going to do just a little back stitch. And we're going to do our 1/4-inch. And we're going to stop when we get to the blue line. Do a little back stitch. All right. And then we take and we press. Now, I'll just press with my hands, but if you have a By Annie's little stylist, they have a flat section that you can flatten it out.
Nice.
That too. All right.
Would it hurt to take it over to the iron?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't at this point, because it can distort it.
Okay, gotcha.
Ask me how I know.
Pam, how do you know?
How do I know? And also, she doesn't recommend it if you were to read the
directions.
Really? All right, I twisted it around, and now we want to cover number 3. So we've done number 2, and we're just going to go Do a little back stitch. And remember, the thread is going to show on the back side. Okay? We're going through everything when we do this. Hence the term quilt as you go. So when you're working with it, just be aware, maybe not the best time to use your bobbin that you thought, what did I ever sew that was that color? Okay. This one here has words to it. And this one has a little bit of a knitting theme. So I'm going to go, and again,
I love quilt as you go type projects. Just in the sheer fact that when you're done piecing,
you're done.
yeah, I mean, you just really have to do the binding at that point, but it really less likely to become an unfinished project.
Yes. Now, you'll notice that this particular one has the Caddie as well as the sewing machine cover. I know me. If I did the sewing machine cover, I'd probably stop there.
Okay. Oh, so you're doing the Caddie first so that you...
So
now, are you going to do another video for the sewing machine cover?
Yep.
Okay, nice.
I'm going to do another video for both. So I'm going to do the mat because, like I said, I know me. I'll be like, yeah. I'll get to it. All right. So you can see how we're building up as we go. So now we're going to do the next one. I thought that was a cute print. Had straight pins and everything else. And I think you guys get the idea by now, right? Right sides together.
Stitch and flip.
Stitch and flip. Try to follow the numbers, but on this case, I don't think that if you wanted to do all one side and then all the other, I don't think life would come to an end as we know it. Alrighty, so I'm going to continue on with this, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I have finished piecing the short strips for the center, and then I did one all along the one side. Now be aware that there will be 3 colors on one side and then 2 on the other.
Okay.
So if you're looking, thinking that's not, it's planned that way, I would like to think it's just a little bit of interest. And you can go back and you can sew that section for pockets.
Oh, nice.
So it kind of gives you kind of a nice difference in size. So if you're looking at it thinking, huh? Don't worry about it. And I thought that way too when I first saw it. I'm like, huh? All right. So I've done, again, all of the one side. So now when we do the long side, it's just pretty much going to be the same thing we just did, except obviously it's going to be a little longer. Now, something to be aware of, if you notice that your top layer of fabric is getting pushed a lot, if you can, lower the pressure on your foot. Not a huge amount, but you know, it'll help it kind of lay a little flatter for you. Now on these long sides, I cut the appropriate width, but I did not worry about cutting the exact length. Because I figure that's what scissors are for. We can just go and trim that up. Alrighty. So I have done this one side. And then now I'm just going to put the thimbles on the other. I kind of put the thimbles on as an irony because I don't use thimbles.
Even when you do handwork, you don't use thimbles?
My problem is if I have use a thimble, my mind goes to the other finger.
Oh, okay.
So I need a thimble mitt. If I find that I've been doing too much handwork and I need a thimble, I use a really expensive type. It's called a Band-Aid.
Oh, really?
I use a Band-Aid,
and as your thimble?
Perfectly fine. My brain understands that. They're like, oh, okay. All right. So we're doing our last strip. And we're going down here. I think this would be a really cute mat. And I kind of picked wild fabrics because that way I won't see any threads on them.
This is true.
You know,
this is very true.
If you choose all kind of plain, which you absolutely can, if you are the type of person that feels the need to pick at every little piece of thread, it might be there a while. Whereas on this one, you don't have to worry about it. All right, now is when I would take it to the ironing board and I would give it kind of a final press. Now, at this point, they're going to tell you to...
Hold on for 2 seconds, Ben.
I'm sorry. There you go. Can you see my line of stitching that I did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know, sorry I did in gray, but you get the idea. It's right there. That's pretty close to where the fabric is. So what I would do is, I don't know whether she kind of tells you to do it in the pattern. I would stitch again, going all the way around. Remember, we're going to be putting a binding on here. You don't really want your fabrics to be flapping around. So we're pretty much just going to be stitching around the outside perimeter one more time. Just to make sure you've caught at least most of it. And then we're going to cut right next to that line. Okay. And just so you can see, it kind of catches it nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you want to skip this step, I won't say anything, but just make sure you catch everything when you do your binding. Sometimes it depends on how much of a time crunch we're under. The top edges shouldn't be bad at all because, again, remember, we've already stitched those. and anchor them pretty well. All right, and now what you're going to do is you're just going to trim basically right next to. Could you rotary cutter this? Sure. And we're going to go and we're going to trim all the way around. Okay? And I'm just going to do a little bit of this just so you can see how it's, and you see how it looks much neater when you're all done. Okay, now the binding that I'm going to put on, she has you cut it 2.5 inches wide. So 2.5, 2.25, anything like that will work great. I thought the blue went really nicely with it.
Yeah, it is cute.
Okay, so remember when you're doing it, you are going to fold it in half, then fold it at a 45-degree angle, and then you have your nice pocket to sew it in. And if you need a little bit more help with that, Loretta has a video online about how to do binding, and she'll show you in depth on that.
We'll see if we can get Patricia to put it in the description.
Yeah, we'll get Patricia to put in the link. All right, so now basically with this guy, how you know once you've done the binding, okay, you are all done the binding, you get to choose which side you want your machine to be sitting on. And I would have thought you'd want your machine sitting on this facing up, okay? And then, there you go. You can flip it up, and that's how they kind of have it
in the picture.
In the picture. So you see a lot of that back side. Now, if you thought, heck no, I did all this work.
I want to see my fabric.
I want to see my fabric. Remember, you can always flip it up the other direction.
I like it.
All right. They want you to flip it up about 6 inches. Okay. And then you're going to sew the sides once the binding is done. And then you can separate it into different pockets.
Nice.
But that's why they kind of had you do, you know, the difference here so you can have lines to sew on.
Yeah, sure, because we have different size tools.
Different size tools. All right. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.